When I look at Grand Theft Auto 6 and its world, I keep coming back to the same thought. The north of Leonida might end up being one of the most interesting parts of the whole map. Now, we naturally look at Vice City first, and that makes sense. That's the iconic location. That's the place we are returning to. But the further north I start thinking about, the stranger the game feels. And honestly, I think that might be where some of the coolest stuff is hiding. Mount Kalaga National Park already feels very different from the rest of the map. It's described as a wild, wild country sitting on Leonida's northern border, with hunting, fishing, off-road trails, and backwoods full of hillbilly mystics and paranoid radicals. That is a very specific kind of weird. And that's what makes this area stand out to me right away. Rockstar is not presenting the north like it's just the mountain part of the map or some basic countryside area. They're presenting it like this is where the tone of Leonida starts to shift, and shift in a way that's completely different from the rest of the map. A place where the world stops feeling like beaches, clubs, hotels, and neon lights, and starts feeling more isolated, rough, and a little strange. Now, even the way they describe it, room to breathe from the state's northern fringes, makes it sound less like just another stop on the map and more like the outer edge of Leonida, where things start to feel different, and that's usually when Rockstar maps are at their best. Not when areas just look different, but when they actually feel different as well. Now, what makes the North even more interesting is how little Rockstar has really shown us. It hasn't been a major focus in the trailer, and most of what we have right now comes from a handful of screenshots and official descriptions. And sure, maybe that's just because the city, the suburbs, and the coastlines are the flashier parts of the game to market. That could absolutely be part of it, but I also can't help thinking there might be a reason Rockstar has kept this area a little more hidden. Maybe it's just a mountain region, or maybe this is one of those parts of the map they don't want to give away too much on yet, because there's more going on than we realize. And quickly, if you like detailed GTA 6 discussions, deep dives, and everything like that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys. Officially, what we know is this is not just one mountain in a wide open area like previously with Mount Chiliad. You've got canyon roads cut through red rock, riverways for kayaking, hunters in the woods, deer out in the open, and even a big cat stalking wildlife in the brush. That is a very different kind of energy from the rest of what Rockstar has shown so far. It honestly feels like Rockstar took a little bit of that Red Dead style wilderness atmosphere and dropped it into GTA. Not enough to make it a different game, but enough to make the North feel like its own world inside the map of Leonida. And I think that's more than just, wow, this is nice scenery, this is a change of pace for the map. Because if Mount Kalaga really is built around hunting, fishing, off-road trails, river routes, and wildlife, then this part of Leonida might not just look different, it might actually play completely different than the rest of the map. Vice City feels like the place for density, nightlife, traffic, and social chaos. The North feels like the place for slower exploration, outdoor traversal, random discoveries, and maybe even a little danger just from being out there. That kind of mechanical shift is exactly what makes a giant Rockstar map interesting long term. It changes the rhythm of how we move through it. That's also why I don't think Mount Kalaga is just Rockstar adding a mountain because they wanted some verticality. I think the whole point of the area is contrast. Florida-inspired beaches, wetlands, and coastlines already give Leonida a strong identity. The North is what makes that identity feel broader and less predictable. It gives the map an outer edge. It gives Rockstar somewhere to hide weird people, weird stories, and weird mechanics that would feel out of place in Central Vice City. And that's really the word I keep coming back to here: unpredictable. The North feels like the place where the map can surprise us. Another thing that makes this area so interesting is we still can't fully figure out what it's even based on. Is Mount Kalaga pulling more from North Florida, South Georgia, Providence Canyon, Table Rock Mountain, or just a Rockstar style mashup of several southern locations? The red clay and canyon-like visuals are a huge reason to keep looking north of Florida for inspiration. Rockstar might just be blending pieces from several places the way they always do, and honestly that sounds right to me, and I wouldn't treat any one real-world comparison as confirmed. This does say something important. The north of Leonida does not read like simple flat Florida. Rockstar is clearly taking more creative liberties up here. Then there's the border mystery, which I think is one of the biggest reasons this area is interesting. Rockstar's wording matters here. They didn't describe Mount Kalaga as being on some northern coastline. They described it as being up against the state's northern border. And that one phrase brings a question forward. What is the top of the map actually? Is Leonida still basically an island in classic GTA fashion? Is the north going to end in mountains, forestry, and an inhospitable land border? Is there another state beyond it? Is Glorina or some Georgia-style landmass actually part of the border world? None of that is confirmed, but even the mapping community has said the northern border question is probably the most controversial, unresolved part of the whole map right now. Because even before launch, Mount Kalaga already feels less solved than Vice City or some of the southern regions. Urban skylines are easier to piece together, coastal zones are easier to read, but the further north you go, the more unknown there still is. That mystery gives the area a different weight. It makes it feel like the part of Leonida where Rockstar could still be holding back the most. And if Rockstar really leans into that, I think the North could end up feeling very different from a normal GTA map edge. Maybe the northern border might feel more like endless woods, rough hills, and dangerous backcountry than a clean artificial limit. I don't know if Rockstar will go that route, but I do think the Mount Kalaga wording opens the door to a much more believable top-end boundary than what we usually get in GTA. And even if it still ends up being functionally contained, the North already sounds like it could feel less like you reached the edge of the map and more like you went too far into somewhere you probably shouldn't be. Then there's this weird backwoods angle, which is where the area really starts to get fun to talk about. Because once Rockstar starts throwing around phrases like hillbilly mystics, paranoid radicals, and people living far from the prying eyes of the government, my brain does not go to normal side missions. It goes straight to strange places, hidden community, conspiracy people, survivalists, anti-government satire, maybe even militia-style characters living out in the woods. I'm not saying all of that is guaranteed or something we would see in the game, but that is absolutely the kind of tone Rockstar is inviting here. I keep thinking of eerie night drives, hidden camps, horror-style random encounters, and the idea that Mount Kalaga might be the place where GTA 6 gets its creepiest or funniest rural mysteries. And once you start looking at Rockstar's history, that kind of speculation doesn't even feel that wild. Rockstar loves using rural spaces to shift the tone. Those areas are where they can get funnier, darker, stranger, and more mysterious all at once. Feels like the one place on the map where Rockstar can really cut loose with hidden side content, oddball NPCs, bizarre encounters, and stuff that players will still be discovering months after launch. Maybe UFO style mysteries, old Chiliad type expectations. That kind of wilderness space just naturally invites all of that. There's also a whole horror adjacent lane of speculation building around the north and the outskirt parts of Leonida in general. Some of that comes from old unverified leak chatter, things like a lost plane, a mine shaft, lighthouse mystery, haunted locations. I want to be careful with that because none of that is something I'd treat as confirmed, but the reason these seem connected to Mount Kalaga is obvious. If GTA 6 has any area that feels built for unsettling side content, it's this one. The North is where that kind of thing just makes sense tonally. I don't think it's going to feel completely disconnected from the main cast or the story either. Hal Hampton jumps out immediately as a possible bridge into this side of the map. Rockstar already frames him as Jason's friend, someone tied into Brian's orbit, and a guy who spends his time listening to Coast Guard comms and spiraling into conspiracy talk. If there's any part of Leonida where that kind of paranoia is actually going to lead somewhere, Mount Kalaga and the surrounding backwoods feel like the perfect place for it. He doesn't have to live up there for the connection to work, he just feels like the kind of character who could point Jason towards that world, introduce weird theories that end up mattering, or pull the story into the kind of off-grid chaos the North seems built for. Brian Heder is another one I keep thinking about. Rockstar describes him as an old-school drug runner still moving product through his boatyard, a guy who has survived by letting other people take the risks for him. That doesn't prove Brian has direct ties to Mount Kalaga, but it does make me think GTA 6 criminal world is probably going to stretch a lot further inland and north than people expect. If there are backwood routes, hideouts, hidden stash spots, or people in the north connected to smuggling and off-grid operations, Brian feels like a very easy way for Rockstar to connect that part of the map. And that's a big reason I think the north could matter more than just being a side area for outdoorsy stuff. It could be the part of Leonida where a lot of the game's hidden systems, side stories, strangers and freaks, weird people start overlapping. Wildlife, off-road travel, mysteries, conspiracy energy, hidden communities, criminal roots, a different map border feel than we've ever had in the franchise. That's a lot of things stacking on top of each other in one region. And if Rockstar actually layers those ideas together the right way, then Mount Kalaga won't just be a cool place to visit once, it'll be the kind of area people keep going back to because it feels like there's always one more thing hidden up there. So for me, that's why the north of Leonida is such a big deal. Not because it's just a nature aspect of Leonida, not just because it's such a diversion from the rest of the map, but I do think it has a real chance to be the part of GTA 6 that feels the least predictable. The city will probably be incredible. The coast will probably be beautiful. The swamps will probably be chaotic and amazing to explore, but the north feels like the place where Rockstar can make the world feel strange. The place where the map starts feeling fully known. The place where the game might slow down, get eerie, and start rewarding the players who go looking for stuff off the main path. And honestly, if that ends up being true, Mount Kalaga could become one of the most talked about regions in the entire game. So let me know what you think. Do you see the north of Leonida as mainly a wilderness zone to be such a diverse area compared to the rest of the map? Or do you think Mount Kalaga is where Rockstar is hiding the weirdest stuff in GTA 6? If you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like on it, as it's the best way to help me and the channel grow. I appreciate you guys. Subscribe for all things GTA 6. We would love to have you in the community. And as always, guys, stay happy, stay hyped, and have a beautiful day.